Last month, we exposed Kerry Buddle, the dodgy mortgage broker on the Kapiti coast, who was conning clients into lending him money funded by mortgages over their own homes. Since then, new laws have been announced to rein in and regulate how financial advisors operate. We'll look at what protection they can give you shortly, but first, more trouble for Kerry Buddle. Other angry clients saying they lost their homes because she persuaded them to borrow more than they could afford. Some suspect purely to increase her commission.
Not much in there.
No, not much in there, no.
It's the day before payday and the Ward family is out of food. It happens every fortnight. The fridge bare, the freezer empty.
We had got nothing at all. Just nothing there.
It wasn't always like this. Tess and Dean had a house in Levin, lots of toys, and in 2008 decided to buy a rental property. So they approached Kerry Buddle.
She just said, leave it to me, I get the money. That's my job, you just don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's what she said.
My job is to get the money together, it's not for you to worry about
so whoever,
you just need to go... Yeah.
Whoever lend it.
Yeah, she says, I'm good at it, I can get money from anywhere.
To buy the new house and cover their old mortgage, they needed $500,000. But they say Kerry Buddle talked them into borrowing more, so they had a buffer. And it wasn't till a year later they discovered they owed money to both Westpac and finance company Base Corp.
She has got a tongue like a snake, and she just wants, all she's interested in is her brokerage fees from the finance companies, that she doesn't care about what's happening to you. She will sell you up the river and say goodbye.
Dean and Tess couldn't keep up the payments and had to sell both houses. With penalty fees and interest, they still owe the bank almost $100,000.
I'm 50 now. I'm starting all over again. Been paying houses off since I was 20. I've been working since I'm 13. And now I'm starting all over from zero. From negative zero, 95 negative thousand.
They thought they were the only ones.
I despise her at the moment. I really do.
Till they saw last month's close-up story.
I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh my God, this woman's done it to heaps of people. Look at this. And I thought, oh, now people will actually believe that I was telling the truth all along. That we were had.
Like the Wards, Adrian and Michael Waller also saw the story by chance.
I thought, oh my gosh. Thank the Lord, she's been exposed.
The Wallers were forced to sell their Waikanae home and are now renting for the first time in 35 years, after a deal with Kerry Buddle went wrong.
She was larger than life, talked very, very fast, shuffled papers a lot, was very almost hyperactive with her selling herself in a big way.
I'll give you 500.
Oh, wow.
In November 2008, they asked Kerry Buddle to find them a better deal when their bank started raising fees.
And I remember her saying that other mortgage dealers were jealous of her and that she had done mortgage deals before, and they'll be talking about her behind her back. But don't worry about that, she's the best.
They went with her because she was the only one who'd visit their busy Foxton cafe, and because she seemed professional.
She had the biggest ad. Look at me, look at me. But she had in there also that she was a member of the organisation that obviously looked after mortgage broking people, NZMBA, I think it's called.
They didn't realise Kerry Buddle had been banned from the NZMBA, and despite feeling uneasy, took her advice to borrow much more than they needed from Base Corp. They say she told them no one else would lend them the money, but that she'd try a mainstream bank again after 6 months.
I've crawled on my hands and knees and I've been around everyone and no one will actually do it for you, and it's taken me 4 days to put all this together, and Base Corp have finally seen what a wonderful candidate you are. It's all part of a game.
But later they found out Base Corp had been duped.
The application form was actually a lie, how she put out an application form to Base Corp saying that her husband Jared was mentoring us in the business, and we'd already been going for 2 years.
Kerry Buddle ceased all contact when it became clear they couldn't refinance with a mainstream bank as she'd promised. It took the Wallers a whole year to pay off the loan, and with penalties and interest, they ended up paying $135,000 more than they borrowed.
The mistake we made, or were cajoled into, into making was not a good one, and to recover from that is going to be much more difficult than I thought. And it is certainly a feeling of entrapment.
They now face renting for the rest of their lives, as do the wards.
How do you sleep at night knowing that you've done this to people? Because there's heaps of people this has happened to. And I don't know, is money worth that? Is it worth it?
None of the people in our last story, who all personally lent Kerry Buddle money, have got any of that money back. Her business has shut and police are investigating. And despite numerous requests, Kerry Buddle refuses to discuss the matter with Close Up.
Corinne Ambler there continuing her investigation into Kerry Buddle. So what are these new laws that come into force on the 1st of July? How much protection will they offer the average family? Why didn't they come in sooner? Well, of course, our go-to guy for all of this is Darren Prattley, the chair of the New Zealand Mortgage Brokers Association. OK, Darren, can these new laws stop what we've seen tonight?
I don't think, Mark, that it'll actually stop these sort of things happening, but it will certainly make it more difficult for people to get away with it like we've seen in this situation, and give the consumer a very good opportunity about getting some help and sorting these issues out.
Now, it provides a disputes procedure. This has been something missing.
There is an independent disputes resolution service now. There's 4 of those schemes that have been set up under the new legislation. It means that the consumer can go to one of these groups and actually get their complaint heard and investigated, all at no cost. So basically, the advisor associations, the advisor environment has put that into place by paying a registration fee to make sure that they can have a complaint service that they can go to.
I tell you what I found interesting in this, reading through it. It said, now tell me if this is right, it requires that the people be competent and skilled.
They also have to be able to prove that they have got competence and skill. So that's one of the things now that is a real big component in the advisory industry, that you must be able to prove to the regulator that you can actually show your competence and skill.
Do you believe there are people in this business right now who would not pass the new test?
I think it's going to be very difficult for them to stay in the industry now, because they are going to be shown up if they cannot prove those competence and skill requirements. OK,
tell me how those... Because a lot of people, like we saw tonight, like myself, we're not experts on these financial things. We rely on other people. Tell me how these new laws are going to help us.
Number one is from the 1st of July, a new disclosure regime kicks into gear. Now, what that will mean is that every single financial advisor in New Zealand must provide a disclosure document to the client before they provide any advice, to make sure the client is totally aware of who they are, what they do and the service that they provide, and who pays them. So that will give a complete outline as to how they're going to work.
Because most of them don't charge fees, do they?
There are commissions that are paid in some of the products that are sold, but in some cases nowadays fees are charged for some services. So that's where the consumer needs to be aware of that.
But this means, if I, say, went to you, for instance,
yes,
and you were going to organise me a mortgage through, say, National Bank.
Yes.
And they were giving you a commission, you have to tell me you're getting paid to...
Absolutely. As part of our disclosure regime, we have to explain to you how we get paid and who the provider is that are paying us. So we do that as part of our role now.
With things we saw that with one of the mortgage companies they're going to, the documents have been altered, the information wasn't right.
That's right. So that's where I can say that always going to be situations in any industry where people try fraudulently making situations create like this. But in the new regime, I think it will be a way of us policing that a lot better.
Corinne has been chasing the story for months. I mean, the rumours, all the talk has been going on for months. There's been problems. Why haven't the police got involved?
I guess, Mark, having been involved with this for a lengthy period of time now, I agree with you. I think the police, this is one area that they really need to have a look at. I mean, there's amount of information that we've all seen here. It just leads down the track of saying there are some really serious issues around the fraud, and it is the police's responsibility to investigate it.
Have we had any word from them as to why they're not?
We certainly haven't, and I think from the comments that I've heard, I don't think there's been any further communication about investigations.
She can't be that hard to find, can she? Really?
Well, I think it's a case where the police need to resource this issue and really try and make sure that they find a solution, because I think in this situation there are a lot of people losing an amazing amount of money, and it's just so tragic.
It is, and the more, and you see, these are just ordinary, decent families,
yep,
their lives wrecked.
And this is the bit where, around financial advice these days, it's about getting good people to give good advice that you can trust, and that's where it's really important.
Darren Prattley, appreciate your time tonight.